you excited? We're going to bring up our first speaker here. Are we ready?
Yep.
Come on up. Hanne from Thrive Themes. Hanne's the head of marketing for Thrive Themes. They make plugins and themes for WordPress.
Yeah.
They got a lot of really awesome products, and she's going to walk us through how they get to that point and how you can apply some of the same lessons for your business or your product ideas.
And one part of leveling up really is letting go of our own egos. And I purposely invited her here because her talk actually smashes and just takes my last year's talk and throws it out the window. If you guys heard my talk last year, it's called MVP hacking. You know, how to build a minimal viable product. And in the talk, I stressed about how important it is just to get started with just whatever you can do and just launch it. And here in 2017, it's time to level up because as Hanne's gonna explain, it's not enough anymore, just do the bare minimum. We have to really go out and be better. So thank you, Hanne.
Thank you. So welcome everybody, hello, and I'm very happy to see this room so packed. I can tell you, it's gonna heat up this room, like really, because I've already heard some of the speakers and you're gonna get a lot of inspiration and you're gonna get a lot of tools to build your business. So I'm gonna start out with giving you a little bit of my journey into becoming a digital nomad. And actually, when I graduated, I had the perfect job for a girl anyway. I'm a shoes buyer. So yes, I buy shoes professionally. It's actually pretty cool. Like, I really loved that job. There was just one small problem. Don't know if you recognize, this is La Défense in Paris. And this is where I was working, in one of those towers, actually. And so with this job, like I said, there were two small problems. The first one, I had to go there every day, taking the metro. And if you've taken the metro in Paris, you know that's not that much of fun to do. And like the job, in the end, it was kind of boring. Like it become the same thing over and over again. So I felt like I couldn't develop my full potential over there. So what did I do? New adventure. I was already having a side business on the internet, so internet marketing stuff. And then I decided to go full time. The thing is, I was actually working pretty well. Like I was doing e-courses and some coaching. And you can say that like I kind of made it as being like my own boss because I was making a living with it. The problem, like something still didn't feel right. I had the freedom, but now I still didn't have the challenge that I was looking for. And you know how sometimes like the universe just sends you what you're asking for? Well, I received a newsletter. We all know that newsletters don't open all that often, but for one reason or another, like I opened that newsletter. And in the PS, there was just a little phrase saying like, hey, we're looking for marketing people. If you want to join us 3 months in Barcelona to do an apprenticeship, marketing apprenticeship, please apply. And something was just clicking. I was like, okay, 3 months, Barcelona, cool company. I'm gonna do that. And I became one of those weird ones. I became a digital nomad that actually has a full-time job. Because now I'm working for Thrive Teams. So I'm head of the marketing team, where this is 2 years after the internship. I'm head of this amazing team. You might recognize some of them in the room. And we are all working remote. So every one of us can be working at home or being a digital nomad. Now, there are a few advantages of working for a company. And one thing that I want to, like, if there's anything that I want to share with you, is like, some people, like, it's not because you're not an entrepreneur that you're not contributing to the world. Like, every entrepreneur who has a big idea needs a team behind them to actually execute on that idea. And if you can work in a company that you're standing behind that big idea, and you're actually contributing, well, then that's pretty powerful. And there is something else that I love about working in a multi-million-dollar startup. It's that actually skill building. So what I've learned in this company in just 2 years, I could never have learned in my, like, sitting on my couch making e-courses. That just wouldn't have happened. And that's exactly why I'm here today, because I want to share some of the stuff that I've learned with you guys, and I'll hope that it will help you out. So let me start by telling a story. A few years ago, a friend of mine, let's call him Ryan, he decided to make a marketplace. So you know, a website where people go and they sell stuff and other people come and they buy stuff. And so because Ryan already read a lot about startups and about, he read already books of entrepreneurs, and he decided to make an MVP. Who knows what an MVP is? Okay, cool. So many of you already passed the first stage of becoming a successful entrepreneur. Now, for the others, I'm quickly going to explain. MVP is a term that's coined by Eric Ries in the book The Lean Startup. Very good book. And it stands for minimum viable product. So this means that when you have your grand idea, you are actually gonna turn it down and take out all the bells and whistles and make it minimum and viable and bring it to market quickly. So this is a very smart thing to do. Instead of staying like years with your idea and building it and then like hoping that somebody will buy it after you've been 3 years in a cave, well, you can make something quickly and get feedback. So for this wedding cake, if we take out the design, if we take out the UI, if we take out the UX, if we take out a lot of stuff, this might be your minimum viable version. Now, that's exactly what Ryan did for the marketplace website. So he already made some websites and he decided that, well, what do you need? You need for the sellers to be able to put their product online. You need for the buyers to be able to buy it. So he made a form. The sellers would fill out the form. He would manually put it in the website. And then buyers would come, they would click on the PayPal button, and he would wire the money to the sellers. So this was a workable version of the website. Like, it did what it had to do. It's typically what we call a minimum viable product. Now, you know how when you tell like a friend of mine, okay, I am Ryan, and that marketplace, like it tanked horribly, didn't work out. And I really wished that I know then what I know now. Because most of the things that you read and that you learn about minimum viable products are just completely wrong. So now I'm working for Thrive Teams, and we make conversion-focused WordPress plugins. Last year alone, we launched 3 new plugins. So that means that we launched 3 new minimum versions of the plugin. Because to be able to develop those plugins quickly, you need to get them to market quickly, and then you need to continue developing on them. But we do things very differently than what you see. And that is exactly what I want to talk about. So my talk is called Why Nobody Will Buy Your MVP and How to Become a Market Leader. Because we're talking about leveling up. We don't just want to copy. We don't just want to have a Me Too product or be like the NM one on the block. No, we want to be market leaders. We actually want to do something that matters. And so I'm going to show you how we do this at Thrive Teams, and I'm going to show you all the steps that you can take to do it for your own business. Now, there's a problem with most MVPs. The problem with most MVPs is that that minimum viable product is actually based on the resources of the people creating it. So either it is based on their skills. So I'm a developer, so I can develop something quickly, but my design skills are shit, so I'm not gonna have any design in my product. Or the opposite, I'm a designer, so it's gonna look super good, but well, the code is gonna be kind of crappy. And then the second thing is it is based on other resources such as finances. And this forms a huge problem because if you only base your minimum viable product on what you can do at that point, you will probably make somebody that nobody wants, that nobody is excited about, because it's not based on what the market wants. So this is why we have a solution. You can build an MMP. Who knows what an MMP is? That's weird. Okay, good, because I totally invented this term. So an MMP is what I call a minimum marketable product. Woohoo! Great. So a minimum marketable product is different from a minimum viable product because we're actually gonna see what the market is looking for and how you can build something that from the very first version, from that very first thing that you put out there, people are excited to buy. And so you will be able to get that feedback loop. Because remember, if nobody buys your first minimum viable product, then you will never get that feedback loop going, and your grand idea will probably never work out. So before I go into the 3 crucial elements, who here wants to develop or is developing an app or has software or, you can raise your hands. Okay. Who is doing e-courses, e-guides, online learning, or is trying to get into that? Okay. Who's doing physical products? Oh, quite a lot. Okay. And who is selling services? Freelancers. All right. Because even though my examples are mostly about software, this is not something that only applies to software. You can apply this to everything. Like you can apply this to your physical product. You can apply this to your service. Because if what you put out there is marketable, then you will see the difference. You won't have to compete on prices. So let's have a look at the 3 crucial elements, shall we? But wait, before that, I have to tell you a little story because I'm on a quest to find the best vegan burger around the world. And for the moment, London is winning. Mildred's in London, if anybody's interested. But this is very important for the rest of my story, because we're going to talk about hamburgers. If you think about a hamburger, like what makes a hamburger hamburger? Well, it is the bread. Because without the bread, it's just a patty and some vegetables, right? So we're going to start with one of the crucial elements of your minimum marketable product, is the must-have foundations. These are the things that your competition is already doing, that all of your competition is doing, and so your clients are just expecting to see this in your product too. Very important. Next, you will have the marketable meat. So these are some things that you will put on your sales page. It's cool to have. Some of your competition might do something similar, some of them don't, and you can actually start talking about it, and people will think it's cool to have that in your service, in your e-course, in your plugin. But then the thing you really need is the differentiating factor. And so for me, this is the sauce for the hamburger, because that really makes a difference, which kind of sauce is on the hamburger. And so in your MMP, this is the most important thing, the differentiating factor. Now, let me give you an example of how this works. Thrive Leads is our list building plugin. If we look at the must-haves for a list building plugin, well, that means that probably people expect to have at least the possibility to put a pop-up on their websites. They are expecting to see some basic stats and probably some basic targeting for those pop-ups. So these are really must-have features. If you don't have that in your plugin, well, it's just not a list building plugin. Next are some cool marketable stuff. So for us, these were the 2-step opt-ins, nicely designed templates, the advanced targeting, and the exit intent trigger. So these are things that you can put on your sales page. But people probably won't change from their current solution to this solution just because of these features. What really makes a difference for this plugin is the front end. What you see is where you get drag and drop editor. and the A/B testing, like advanced A/B testing. Because we noticed doing the steps that I'll show you just in a few seconds, that this was missing in the market. And so even in the very first version of that plugin, A/B testing and the what you see is what you get editor was included. So now, this might be something that you think is not really minimum anymore, but if you launch without this, without your differentiating factor, then people are just not going to be interested in the very first version. And now, it's true that this is not really a minimum product anymore on launch because, well, we do have a team of developers and it's already an established company. But what I want you to take away from this is we could have launched with less templates. We could have launched with less opt-in form types. But if we had launched without these two things, then it would never have been the fuss about the plugin when it launched. So now, how can you do this for yourself? Well, unfortunately, this is the not so sexy process. It's hard work. The good thing is, that's why most people aren't doing it, and where you can actually make the difference. So, it's hard work, but there are only 4 steps. Let's have a look. Step 1, you have to know your competition. And what I mean by that is you don't just look at one competitor and say like, oh, wait, I can do this thing better. No, you're gonna look at each and every one of your competitors. And you are actually going to think of how people solve the problem that you want to solve. Because maybe people here know the difference between direct and indirect competition. So the indirect competition they are not doing exactly the same like you are doing, but they are solving the same problem. And if, for example, you want to change hotel life, and you're not looking at Airbnb, and you're not looking at couchsurfing, then you're doing something wrong. Then you're missing half of your competition. So, very important. How can you do this? You can Google it, you can go into groups, like Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, and you can see what people are actually saying. In Facebook groups, very easy, you can ask to people like, how are you solving this problem right now? And people will tell you. People like to talk. So people will tell you what they are doing to solve this problem. Like I said, you can do this for your software, but you can do this for your e-course, you can do this for your physical products, and you should be doing this. You have to list all those competitors. Very important, needed after. Because step 2 is you will make a competitor matrix. What does this mean? This means that you are actually going to dive deep into your competition. And you are going to take a look at all the features that they are announcing, like on their sales page. You're going to read their sales pages, you're going to read their FAQs, you are going to go into their knowledge base to find out, and you are going to make something that looks more like this. So as you can see here, we have all the features in the column, and we have the competition in rows. This is something that we did for Thrive Quiz Builder, and you can see that if you have a row with everything is crossed, these are must-have features. Because that means that every single one of your competition is doing it. So there you have them, your must-have features that you need to include in your minimum marketable product. And then you can see that there are lines where there's some crosses. So that means that those competitors are using those features as marketable features. So this is your marketable meat, and you can choose which one you would like to include in your product, depending on what you are looking for. And then you might also see that while you were doing your first research, people were saying like, oh, it would be cool if, but it doesn't. And I would have liked if, but it doesn't. And so these will be the features that you can actually differentiate yourself on. And so if you put them in there, you will see that people, like your competition, is doing it like more or less, or not doing it at all. And those will be your differentiating factors. Now, you have to dive even deeper. Like, you need to know your competition almost better than you know yourself. And what I mean with dive deeper is you will buy your competition products. You will spend some money because it will It will save you a lot of money down the road. So it's very important to see this difference between what people are actually saying and how the real experience is when you are a customer of that product. Because this will give you your spot. This will make you see where you got a place to put your own products. And this might look something like this. So once you have all of the competition and you decided like what you think is important for your plugin products e-course, you can start putting the competition on this XZ scale. And what you want is to see an open space in the upper right corner, because then you can take that space. Now, as you can see, like on the A/B testing, many of the competition is doing basic A/B testing. So they are all more or less using that as a marketable feature. For them, it's not their differentiating feature. And on customization, well, some of them are pretty high up, but they are not doing the A/B testing. So this means that we had a spot there, that we could put drive leads. And as long as you haven't found that spot, you have to go back to the drawing board. Because if you don't find your differentiating factor, you are just going to be like another Me Too product. And you're going to have to compete on pricing. And that's not what we want, right? We want to level up. We want to be a market leader. And so don't start as long as you haven't found this differentiating factor. So now my question for you is, how is your MVP doing? Is it actually an MP? Or do you need to go back to the drawing board and find that one spot that you're missing now? So thank you very much. And if anybody wants to download the slides, you can find them there. No opt-in. I'm not doing my marketing girl. And thank you very much for listening.